We begin each meeting with an invocation, and the Reverend Chris Franklin of St. Charles Christian Church is with us tonight. If we could all rise, and then we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance afterwards.
Let us be in an attitude of reverence and respect. O Holy, we seek blessing upon the task before us. Bless our efforts with clear insight, our deliberations with wisdom, our work with clarity and accuracy, and our decisions with impartiality. We meet to serve our community, to use our resources wisely and well, to represent all members of our community fairly, and to make decisions that promote the common good. We recognize our responsibility to the past and the future, and the rights and needs of both individuals and community. As trusted servants, we seek blessings on our deliberations and our efforts here today. May we act wisely and well. Amen and amen.
Amen. Reverend Franklin, thank you very much. We appreciate it. John, if you'd lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Joe Cronin.
Here.
Councilmember Joe Brazel. Councilmember Mike Elam.
Here.
Councilmember Mike Klinghammer.
Here.
Councilmember Dave Hammond.
Here.
Councilmember Terry Hollander. Councilmember John White.
Here.
Okay, the next thing on the agenda is the public comments portion. This is the time when residents can come forward and address the council on county-related issues. Is there anybody that would like to address the council tonight? Mr. Dienoff?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. A.C. Dienoff, County Public Advocate. Got a couple things that I just want to update the council on. A couple of meetings ago, back in August, you gave a mandate or a deadline date to Rich Krismer, the sitting election authority director, of August the 8th, to pay back the $881,000 to all of our municipalities, cities, villages, towns, school districts, and fire districts. That date has come and passed. There's been no resolution, no repayment. A lot of the financial directors of various school districts and fire districts and cities have been asking me, where is our money? So you hold the purse strings. You need to take some action before we have a class action lawsuit with our municipalities against the county, because I feel very strongly that that money was stolen from the taxpayers. It needs to be paid back immediately. Mr. Krismer doesn't agree with the audit of Brent Statler, our county auditor that works for you. He doesn't believe with those figures, so he went out and hired another law firm. More lawyers, more dollars that we're spending. I don't know if we're spending as taxpayers or if he's paying for them personally. That needs to be a part of the public record. This needs to be dealt with, and we need to come to a resolution as fast as possible. About 2 years ago, the sheriff stood up here time after time again and told opponents of the split of the sheriff and police department that it would cost $100,000 of drug seizure forfeiture money. Well, that's not the truth, because currently this county council and the executive are looking at 400 North 3rd Street, an office building, for sale for $650,000. Has no elevator, but it has a masonry 2-story building, 8 executive offices, 2 open areas, 2-story atrium reception area, restrooms, lunchroom, basement, lighted parking, adjacent to government centers. Well, I think you folks forgot to know that we own another large office building at 400 North 3rd Street. And the one that's for sale for $650,000 is 301 North 3rd Street, and that's located at the intersection of Monroe. So the empty building, it's sitting idle, not doing anything, is a large office building, doesn't have an elevator either, and would suit fine for any purposes. I don't understand why we have to reinvent the wheel, why we have to spend taxpayer dollars. Also on your agenda is $43,000 to buy new police uniforms. So, yeah, I also have to remember that the voting machine fell off the truck back in November 2012. Everybody closed their eyes and said nothing happened. But that was an unattended machine for over 8 hours, and there's a lot of questions if that vote was tampered with, messed with, and if we even have a countywide police department. So before you start spending the money, I think we need to get some answers from the officials, and don't spend our money on a new building when there's one sitting empty doors away. Thank you.
Thank you. Is anybody else like to talk about any of the issues that Mr. Dienoff has raised? Is there anybody that would like to talk about any other issues that are related to county business? Don't see any. So at that point, we'll close the public comment portion. Next, we have the oral report from the county executive. Mr. Ellen?
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I have a proclamation here involving Constitution Week, and I think we have some individuals here for that purpose. Would you all like to come up and join me here? And you all are from the local DARE or
St. Charles chapter.
Daughters of American Revolution?
Yes.
Okay, well, welcome.
Thank you.
And I know you are involved in this every year, and we'd like to read the proclamation. Whereas September 17th, 2014 marks the 227th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention, and whereas it is fitting and proper to accord official recognition to this magnificent document and its memorable anniversary, and to the patriotic celebrations which will commemorate it. And whereas Public Law 915 provides for the issuance of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America, designating September 17th through 23rd as Constitution Week, now therefore be it proclaimed that I, Steve Ellman, by virtue of the authority vested in me as St. Charles County Executive, do hereby proclaim September 17th through 23rd as Constitution Week in St. Charles County, and ask our citizens to reaffirm the ideals the framers of the Constitution had in 1787. So thank you for all that your organization does, and it's a pleasure to go ahead and sign this proclamation.
Thank you.
Okay?
Can we get a picture?
Sure. Who's going to take it? Right here? Is that all right?
One of them.
Why don't we get over here in front of the flag?
Well, you want a good-looking picture, I'll go over there. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to yield the remainder of my time to Jennifer George, who's going to give you a presentation of some of the planning that has been going on. And Jennifer?
Okay. Good evening. I'll be brief, but I wanted to give everyone a brief overview of a project we've been working on for over a year now. You'll recall that in July of 2013, we had a contract before you with Ross and Berezini. They did two things for us, if this is going to go for me. Oh, yes. The first piece was designing a data center that is now been built out in the administration building for the new countywide emergency radio communication system. You'll recall that we had two portions of that contract. The first piece was the data center, and the second piece was a master planning process to develop a plan for how we were going to utilize the acreage behind the Sheriff's Department. You'll also recall we bought property in two separate pieces, and we now have a total of 10 acres located behind the Sheriff's Department on T.R. Hughes Boulevard. As part of that master planning process, Ross and Berezini walked us through a space needs assessment. And as part of that project of the master plan, we really focused on three areas: emergency management, dispatch operations out at Dispatch and Alarm, which is inclusive of Dispatch and Alarm, fire dispatching, and also the Sheriff's Department operations. And then the third piece of that facility that we were potentially looking to locate behind the Sheriff's Department is a home for the future, or the permanent site of the radio system. So as we went through that process of the space needs assessment, we also asked Ross and Berezini to take a look at the current sheriff's department, so that when we eventually build on that property on those 10 acres, that it has a campus feel, that it flows properly, and that we make best utilization of all of the property that we now have on that space. So they did take a glance at how we are utilizing an existing sheriff's department, but it was really not the focus. The focus being primarily on dispatching, emergency management, and radio system. And then also, I'll mention at the same time, in January of 2013, Joanne instituted a process and a project with all county departments to collect data about what type of growth they would anticipate over the next 10 to 15 years. What are their current space needs? What do they really lack? What would they need in the future? So that we just had some data to really work with for long-term planning in county government. So the big areas that I wanted to cover real quickly today are Emergency Operations Center, evidence storage, and cybercrime activities within the current Sheriff's Department, the data center for the radio project, and dispatch. And I'll mention to you that there's pictures that we're going to go through. The colors probably look better for you on this one, but they'll obviously be smaller. So the Emergency Operations Center today is located in the basement of the Justice Center. Are we good up there? Okay. One of the areas that we really identified as being issues for us is lacking of meeting space, a lack of parking for when we really have a full activation and we need to bring a lot of folks into the Emergency Operations Center, considerable storage issues of equipment and gear that we want to make sure that we're maintaining, and they're also spread out at other facilities around county government. We have lots of water issues in that space, and I'll show you some of that. Also, two other concerns that we really noticed most in the last couple of years with our tornado event and others are access during an activation, so that when we've got volunteers from the Red Cross coming in, we've got fire district staff coming in, police department staff, it's really difficult to gain access to the jail facility when we don't have that as a manned first floor personnel who can let you into that building on a regular basis, and there's a lot of running back and forth to let somebody in the front door. And then also hosting of media. We have no real media space to be able to hold press conferences there on site. So this is a picture of the main space within the Emergency Operations Center. That main table down the middle is kind of set up for what would be our emergency management functions. You'll see, though, in a lot of other facilities, especially ones that are larger than ours or with a more built-up following of their emergency operations plan, that you'll see the groups and the different functions split up amongst a room so that you can congregate a group of people here and a group of people there. When you've got a full activation and if we truly utilize this space to the full extent that we'd like to, you've got a row of folks all sitting next to each other, talking, screaming, dealing with phone calls, computers, and they're all right next to each other, and you can't really break out to be able to handle particular issues in other meeting space because there is none in this facility. Some of the sort of storage and water issues, I think the biggest issue that we've continued to deal with on a regular basis is jail inmates sometimes like to cause problems. And one of the things that we've found a lot recently is that they clog up the toilets intentionally to cause some mischief. And so that ends up impacting the Emergency Operations Center and emergency management on the lowest level. So we have that photo graph on the left is actually our backup dispatching center, and kind of what's pulled away from the wall right now is a table of electronics equipment and dispatch consoles, radio equipment, 911 system, all that has been impacted by water that has come through from the above. And we've got the tarps there, and everything's kind of pulled out from that space in one of those particular incidents. And then storage just being an ongoing issue throughout the series of photos on emergency management. You can see some of their storage areas here. The shelves are filled with primarily radio equipment. These are some of our cache radios that are available for deployment, and along with batteries and a lot of other backup parts. Again, some more additional areas of water damage. I don't know if the particular incident on this one, but Joanne's indicated that we had some issues in the kitchen in 2009. That we had an equipment malfunction that led to water issues in the lower level, along with a couple of other events that have on a regular basis caused a lot of electronics to be wet, or that are kept tarped on a regular basis so as to not be wet in the future. Also there on the right is another area of storage. This particular photo is in the same location as that one on the prior slide, just on another set of walls and shelving. Two other areas, I know that bottom one is particularly difficult to see, but incidents, you can walk around that space and see long history of water problems. We've done the best we can in the majority of places, especially where around electronics, to try and either implement something to catch that water and at least direct it somewhere else should you have pipe problems, or in some cases we've actually capped them off and moved them, but you can't move everything in the building in order to be able to avoid having those pipes above you. Sheriff's Department evidence storage. Today, the Sheriff's Department within the facility has about 4,000 square feet of space. And beyond that, just in the building, which is kind of highlighted in the area in red on the right, they also are utilizing the garage bays, which would otherwise be for their large specialized equipment, for evidence storage, as well as 3 storage trailers that are currently parked in the north parking lot of the building. So this is the official evidence storage area. We have many, many rows of boxed evidence. One of the things that Joanne's been working with the prosecuting attorney's office is about making sure that we're fully implementing and understanding what our policies are for maintaining some of this evidence, and if it's past the time that we need to be keeping it, making sure that we're no longer storing it if it doesn't need to be there. But in many cases, we are still way past where we need to be in terms of storing evidence. So top left-hand corner is the 3 trailers that are all full. That's the inside of one of them for you. And I don't have a picture of the garage bay, but you've got a racks of bicycles, all evidence in various court cases, drug storage, and other general evidence that's in a caged area of the garage. Unfortunately, though, we can't make that more secure to be able to run that fence all the way to the ceiling, and that does cause us some issues. Dispatch, same sort of issues as in the other locations. Not enough room for potential growth, should we have any. Primarily, most likely would be an issue on the dispatch and alarm side in the future. As population continues to grow, we'll need more emergency medical dispatchers. Lack of specialized training and meeting space, as well as storage issues and parking. For those of you who've not been out there, this is where when you come in the front entrance, we have one staff position that sits up toward the front. Behind that set of file cabinets on the right is additional sort of office workspace, and there's additional countertop back there. But you'll see throughout the slides at dispatch and alarm, we've used almost any space we can find to just set up filing cabinets, shelving, or any other type to be able to try and handle what all needs to get stored out there. This, as we've seen in past years when we make purchases, for dispatchers who sit in chairs 24/7, a chair is a pretty important part of their job. And you find that you have more chairs than you would just the number of console positions. So they're regularly just kind of shoved anywhere that you can find them on the dispatch floor. And you'll see that this is on the dispatch and alarm side, and you'll see that on the sheriff's side as well. Left-hand corner, again, just trying to squeeze in almost anything we can in a limited amount of space. This is not an actual full cubicle, but it's on the dispatch floor. You've got the dispatcher sitting just to your right of that photograph. And this is the little workstation that has been probably at one time temporarily set up for our GIS staff person who works there, but it's become pretty permanent, and it's in a very odd location if you're out there trying to work. Photograph on the right is our training officer at dispatch and alarm, but I think you'll kind of get the point throughout this that we use a lot of dual workspaces. This is both his office and a closet. Again, we've also have throughout the facility, and it's right now it is worse than it's been before with all of the work that's being done as part of the radio system and electrical work, so there's a lot of stuff that's been moved. But permanently, we've got shelves that line almost any hallway in the facility. This is the conference room. This is our only real conference room for all of county government operations on the western portion of the county. And it's the only space available. It fits about 12 people, but it's also their training space. So if they have a new trainee who's starting their first couple of weeks of training, there's a console here in that corner up in the very top left, and there's a little more zoomed in on the bottom, where there'd also be training there. So if you've got a trainee, you're not using the meeting space. Final photograph is from the Sheriff's Department side. Top left-hand corner is actually a supervisor's office. There are 3 desks or 3 workstations for a supervisor, a CAD administrator, and also a workstation for pulling down recordings from 911 tapes. And 4 filing cabinets in this very small office. Again, it's what we have, so they've been making do with for quite some time. And then as well, that lower picture is actually outside of that office. We've got 2 large filing cabinets that actually close or cover up that window. That area is really designed for a supervisor so that if they're either in there doing administrative work or meeting separately with an employee, to be able to continue to see the operations on the dispatch floor at any time. And obviously that's no longer the case when we've needed the storage space and had to take it where we could get it. Final, I think, picture of the Sheriff's Department space is I've got here what is a room that is both on the concrete floor in the back portion and on raised floor that's eventually had to extend over time out onto the Sheriff's dispatch floor where they've got their locker space and, again, storage of really anything that we can squeeze. Final item for you is, or final 2, and I think the last picture is cybercrime out of the Sheriff's Department. Cybercrime operations have obviously been expanding over the last several years, and the situation we have at the Sheriff's Department is the servers that actually sit within the same workspace as the employees. So somewhat similar to how you have set up back in Jack's production room where we've got the servers right there. But these are folks who work within that space on a regular basis. And it's not set up like a data center. So there's no raised flooring. There's not the cooling that's necessary there. And again, we've had roof issues in that facility over the years. So there's nothing really secure to be able to keep that equipment always cool and always dry. Final slide is the data center. When we implemented the data center down in the administration building, we did so knowing that it was only going to really be a short-term solution for us for the county's master site of the radio system. It's alongside the IS department's existing data center, but there are certain things that we had to forego just giving the existing conditions within that building and the time that that building was built. So we haven't been able to achieve some of the 2-hour ratings that we would want to be able to achieve for this type of infrastructure, especially related to wind and seismic requirements that at the time were much lower for that type of building and not for the type of equipment that we're housing in it today. Also, for fire resistance and water resistance for a 2-hour rating, if the building is going to burn, what's it matter how much you've really insulated or done fire suppression within the data center if the whole thing's going to collapse anyway. But we've done the best that we can within that space, but knowing that's really only a short-term solution and not a permanent solution. So our next steps really for the master plan process, this really just gave us a lot of really good data to work with, and we've been reviewing some of that over the last several months. And over the next couple of weeks, so that I don't drag this out for you too long in one night, is we'll start sharing with you some of the recommendations that Ross and Berezini has made for us on how we utilize this particular space behind the Sheriff's Department to address some of the issues that we covered tonight. So we'll do that in the next couple of weeks as time allows, and if you have any questions right off the bat, otherwise I'll get out of your way.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
We
thanks.
appreciate it. Anything else today, Steve? No, sir. Thank you. And next we have the consent agenda. Is there any items that people would like to pull off for separate discussion?
I'd like to ask a couple questions about the IT service management software.
Okay. Anything else people like to pull off? Go ahead, Joe.
Simon? Basically, what I read this thing, and it looks to me like it's a software program to manage software programs. But I read the whole thing, and my question is, it's not only $100,000 now, but it's $50,000 a year for years 2 and 3. So it's darn near $200,000. Okay. Are you sure that you need this? Are you sure this thing's going to work the way you want it? And because not only are we spending $100,000 a night, but we're committing to another $100,000 in years 2 and 3. And I guess I think what you're doing right now is you're not using what I read, you were doing a homemade program that you were using for the help desk, and this thing basically does that and a few other things. So I wanted to know a little bit more about it before I voted on a couple $100,000 expenditure.
Okay. My name's Patty Stevens. I work for the St. Charles County Information Systems Department under Simon. We're looking for a tool to provide more than what we have. Today, we use the tool just for the help desk work orders. It's called Track It. In addition to that, we use a separate program that was developed a long time ago by somebody in-house, a consultant, for our timesheets. As far as project management goes, we do not have a tool. Each manager uses their own methodology. Some use Excel, some use Microsoft Project. We have no real good tool to allocate our resources, to tell the Technology Investment Working Group what projects are behind schedule, are we meeting the budget? We're trying to form a project management office to help justify what projects we work on and have this investment group help us prioritize the work to best meet the county's strategies. So it's not only just a time tracking tool and a work order tool, it's also a workflow tool. And yes, we really do need it. It would help organize all of our work with NIS, as well as track and provide metrics to Joanne and Jennifer on how we're doing. Do we need more resources? Is there, one department more utilizing our services than others? So we feel that, yes, we do need this.
These are pretty young and smaller companies, these software companies. Is there, I didn't read the actual contract because I don't think it was in the packet, but is there an exit plan? If you buy this software and it just doesn't fly, okay? Is there an exit plan where you can back out and we don't have to spend that 50 grand next year and 50 grand the following year, do you know? That may be a question for Bob.
There is a cancellation policy, but I don't recall the exact details of
You
it.
tested this stuff enough to know that you're...
We've seen demos of it,
Okay.
and therefore this Evergreen system is the actual implementation software people that are going to help us. So they'll help us set up the workflows, they'll help us set up the project management piece, the problem management, the incidents requests, even like a knowledge base for troubleshooting. So they're going to come in here, evaluate how we do things today, and then help us set up the tool to be more efficient.
Okay, and you feel there's a need for this?
Yes,
Okay,
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Collier, if I may
Yes.
add, I just pulled up the budget real quick so that I have the exact numbers. Information Systems now is managing over 1,200 devices, and last year they had 5,500 help desk requests, which is up by about 2,000 over the last 2 years. So, as technology is advancing and, we've got more and more devices that we're managing, you've got to have a good way of making sure that when somebody's calling, needing help with operating their system or doing whatever, that we know they indeed got the help they needed, moved on, and were able to keep doing their job without a significant delay or wondering, hey, when's somebody going to get to my ticket?
I'm assuming this will prioritize everything too.
I don't know if the system itself will manage it, but it'll give them the data to be able to manage that type of material themselves, or that information.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer, appreciate that.
Move to accept.
Okay.
Second.
And that's for the rest of the entire consent agenda? Motion's been made and seconded for the consent, for the balance of the consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. Next, we have bills for introduction. Would you like to read the first one, bill number 4128?
Bill number 4128, requested by Robert Myers, sponsored by Jill Brazel, an ordinance amending the zoning district map of the County of St. Charles, Missouri by rezoning land from A Agricultural District, 5-acre minimum lot size, and AFW Agricultural District, 5-acre minimum lot size with floodway overlay district to R1A Single Family Residential District, 1-acre minimum lot size, and R1A FW Single Family Residential District, 1-acre minimum lot size with floodway overlay district as per application 23856.
Any questions or comments?
I have one.
Go ahead.
Wayne, do you know how we're gonna, is this gonna be served by public sewers, or it was kind of confusing when I was looking at some of the information on this.
I don't know the answer to your question now as far as the sewers are concerned. And I'm not even certain how they propose to divide this long, narrow strip of ground, but I can try to find out some more information and send you something before your next meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wayne.
Any other questions on Bill 4128? Seeing none, let's move forward to Bill 4129.
Bill number 4129, requested by Craig Tukowski, sponsored by Mike Klinghammer, an ordinance authorizing execution of Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission State Block Grant Agreement, Amendment Number 1, Airport Improvement Program Grant, Project 13-111A-2, and accepting said grant in the amount of $407,772 for expenses associated with airport terminal renovations and installing a new water system at Smart Airport, and further amending Ordinance 13-092, the budget of St. Charles County, Missouri, to reflect receipt of said grant.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, let's move forward to 4130.
Bill number 4130, requested by John Greifsue, sponsored by council as a whole, an ordinance approving a fourth amendment to the intergovernmental agreement with the City of St. Charles for the extension of West Clay.
Questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I might add on this particular item, it is anticipated that the post office will close on the property by the end of this month. But in the interest of making sure that we don't get a break in the contract, that we went ahead and put this bill forward just as insurance, if you will. But the city assures us that they're very close.
Good. Hopefully that piece of the pie will finally fall into place. Let's go forward to Bill number 4131.
Bill number 4131, requested by Tom Neer, sponsored by Mike Klinghammer, an ordinance authorizing acceptance of the Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant from the United States Department of Justice, DOJ, up to the amount of $12,811 for the purchase of equipment for the cybercrime unit.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, let's move forward to the next one.
Bill number 4132, requested by Hope Woodson, sponsored by Mike Klinghammer, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute a memorandum of understanding between the Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services and the St. Charles County Department of Community Health and the Environment related to providing medications for the treatment of sexually transmitted diseases and collaborating to reduce the incidences of sexually transmitted diseases.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, let's move forward to Bill number 4133.
Bill number 4133, requested by Steve Ellman, sponsored by Mike Klinghammer, an ordinance fixing and establishing the rate and levying of taxes for the General Revenue Fund and for various special funds of and for the County of St. Charles, Missouri for the year 2014, whereas the 2014 levy has no changes from the 2013 levy. Be it ordained by the County Council of St. Charles County, Missouri as follows. Section 1, that there is hereby levied on all property in the County of St. Charles, State of Missouri, subject to ad valorem taxation made taxable by law for state purposes, on the assessment and valuation thereof heretofore made and established, taxes for the year 2014 at the rates respectively to and for the various funds and purposes as follows, to wit. A, for the general fund of said county being for ordinary purposes, the rate is fixed at 1/1600th cent on each $100 of assessed valuation. B, for the road and bridge fund of said county, the rate is fixed at 20 25 cents on each $100 of assessed valuation. C, for the dispatch and alarm fund of said county, the rate is fixed at 3 9/10 cents on each $100 of assessed valuation. Section 2, this ordinance shall be in full force and effect from and after the date of its passage and approval.
Any questions or comments?
I have a comment.
Yes, Joe?
I was counting on my annual pack of peanuts from Councilmember White tonight. And for those that are new to this meeting, I would say that Councilmember White brought those in just to illustrate the fact that the average taxpayer in this county pays to the county government about, for an average home in this county, about what'll buy an average size small sack of peanuts.
30 cents less.
Yes. So Next year, John, bring the peanuts, please.
Okay.
Oh.
Thank you.
I feel let down. Come on, man.
They're in the mail.
Okay.
We're waiting for that post office to
Or we got
open, right?
peanut allergies we need to be aware of. On the tabled bill, the homeowner contacted us and requested a little more time to work on some of the information we asked him to get. I anticipate we'll hear from him at the next meeting. Any other announcements or miscellaneous information anybody wants to share? Seeing none, we'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. That brings to the close. Thank you very much.